my eyes to see the spiritual truth today.
Open my eyes to see the spiritual truth today.
And now over your ears. I open my ears to hear the spiritual truth today.
I open my ears to hear the spiritual truth today.
And now over your heart. And just extend out your arms. I open my heart to receive the spiritual truth today.
I open my heart to receive the spiritual truth today.
The spiritual truth that I'm talking about today is that you are never alone. You are never alone. There may be times when you're lonely, but you are never alone because the presence of God is always with you. And I'm not talking about a God in the sky with no arms to hold you when you're sad, or no lips and eyes to smile at you when you need encouragement, when you're scared. I'm talking about a presence of God that runs through every single person on the planet, who does have arms to hold you and an encouraging smile when you most need it. See, oftentimes when we feel alone, what we've done is we've shut out the presence of God through other people who are trying to get to us because we don't really want them to see us. I felt alone in my life, and what I know after these powerful teachings of science of mind is that being alone is always a choice. It's always a choice. See, I've always had one person in my life, and I suspect you've always had one person in your life who loved you unconditionally. Not a person who signed off on your ridiculous behavior. Not a person who approved of everything you did. Not a person who would rescue you from your poor choices. But someone who would love you unconditionally throughout all of it, who never gave up on you. So why is it that I don't choose that? Why don't I choose that person? Because, see, I don't want anybody to know of my imperfections. I don't want anybody to know of my vulnerabilities. So it's easier for me to be alone than to expose myself of my imperfections. Now, when I use that word imperfections, if you're just joining us this week, we're finishing up a series. And at the first of the service, I tell you, you are whole, perfect, and complete, just as you are right this second. There's nothing more for you to add. But there may be some behaviors for you to subtract. There may be some patterns that you want to let go of that no longer serve you. And those are what we're calling imperfections in our life. It's not your essence. It's what you've attracted to you to cope with the world over the years. Well, as most of you know, I'm completing a series this week called The Gifts of Imperfection, a book by a woman named Brené Brown. It's called The Gifts of Imperfection. Let go of who you think you're supposed to be and embrace who you are. Your guide to a wholehearted life. Now, this guide to a wholehearted life, to wholehearted living with both your mind and your heart, she has 10 guideposts to get to this wholehearted life. And now we're at the last 4. The first 6 we've already done, and they're in the bookstore, or you can get them just by looking at our Facebook page, liking our Facebook page, and all of the previous sermons are on there about that. I hope you've gotten the book. If you haven't gotten the book, get the book. It's the best $15 you'll spend. It's a funny book because, you know, it has nothing to do with religion. It has everything to do with your spirit. It has everything to do with spirituality. If you are a practicing Jew, you will find nourishment in this book. If you are a practicing Christian, you will find nourishment in this book. If you are a practicing Muslim, you will find nourishment. If you are a Hindu, you will find nourishment. If you practice earth-based traditions, you will find nourishment in this book. Spiritual nourishment that's deep and wide. Well, today we're going to look at the final ones, and we're going to start with number 7, cultivating play and rest. Letting go of exhaustion as a status symbol. You've met those people. I've been that person. You've been that person. Oh, I'm so tired. I must be important. I must be important. I'm so tired. Letting go of exhaustion as a status symbol, and letting go of productivity as self-worth. It's nothing to do with your self-worth. That's hard for some of us because some of us are doers. We like to accomplish things. And then we get the flu, or we have to break a leg, or we're away from our productivity for a month and we're mad at ourselves. We don't like ourselves. Our self-worth kind of fails. Or we get fired from a job and our productivity is not tied to our self-worth. You know, Brown noticed in this book that wholehearted people fool around a lot. They do a lot of fooling around. They play a lot. And they play not so much in organized play. I mean, they may do that too. But the kind of fooling around that she's talking about is not organized play. It's not playing golf. It's not playing tennis. It's not playing Candy Crush. It's not playing any of those things. See? Because all those have a score at the end. See? What she's talking about, the kind of fooling around she's talking about, is purposeless fooling around. Purposeless play. And a lot of us aren't used to that kind of purposeless play. In today's culture where our self-worth is so tied to our net worth, we base our worthiness around our productivity. That kind of play is kind of, it's foreign to us. You know, for some of us, for her, she says, the whole idea gives her an anxiety attack. And that's kind of how it is for me, fooling around. What does that mean even? I don't know if I've ever fooled, just played around. I must have. But it's foreign to me. I'm not used to it. But what we learn in this book is that the opposite of play is not work. The opposite of play is depression. We need to cultivate this idea of learn how to play and get rest. The CDC says that insufficient rest is a major contributor to heart disease, to diabetes, to obesity, to depression. We could really keep some of that at bay and improve some of it with just some sufficient sleep in our lives. She says insufficient sleep contributes to us being an overstressed group of adults raising overscheduled children. I know, I see that sometimes. We're stressed and we've got our kids in everything we could possibly get them into. Let's look at what she says about that. Steve and I sat down in 2008 and made a practical list of the things that make our family work. We basically answered the question, when things are going really well in our family, what does it look like? The answers included sleep, working out, healthy food, cooking, time off, weekends away, going to church, being present with the kids, a sense of control over our money, meaningful work that doesn't consume us, time to piddle, time with family and close friends, and time to just hang out. These were and are our ingredients for joy and meaning. Then we looked at our dream list that we started making a couple of years ago, and we keep adding to. Everything on this list was an accomplishment or an acquisition. A house with more bedrooms, a trip here, a personal salary goals, professional endeavors, and so forth. Everything required that we make more money and spend more money. When we compared our dream list to our joy and meaning list, we realized that by merely letting go of the list of things we want to accomplish and acquire, we would actually be living our dream, not striving to make it happen in the future, but living it right now. The things we were working toward did nothing in terms of making our life fuller. So that's our homework this week, one of them. Our homework is to sit down. If you're blessed to have a family, sit down with your family and ask this one question. What makes our life work? If you're alone, sit down and ask it of yourself. What makes my life work? And then begin to contemplate that and juxtapose against what it is that you're trying to acquire and the time it takes to do that in your life. The next one is cultivating meaningful work, letting go of self-doubt and supposed tos. So what is meaningful work? How do you cultivate meaningful work? You cultivate your gifts and your talents and you share them. You don't just cultivate them, you cultivate them and share them. That's what meaningful work is. Now, maybe there's somebody here who says, I don't know what my gifts are. I just can't figure out what my gifts are. Maybe I don't have any gifts. Look, it's not possible for you to not have a gift or a talent because you are a representation of God on the planet. And God is nothing more than gift in so many different ways. So maybe if you don't know your gift and you just can't figure it out, and you're not fooling yourself, you just can't figure it out, get an appointment with a practitioner and go in there and say, look, Reverend Georgia said I have a gift, but I can't for the life of me figure out what it is. Will you help me? They'll sit down with you. They'll help you figure out what it is your gift is. See, it's time when we do get our gifts to stop letting society, culture, dictate what's a valuable gift and what's not a valuable gift. See, cultivating and sharing your gift has nothing to do with the marketplace. Maybe your gift is not valued in the marketplace, but it is valued on this planet. Maybe it is valued in the marketplace, and that's a great thing. But if what your gift is in parenting, that's a gift, and it's valued on this planet. No matter what it is, if it's gardening and you provide more beauty for the planet, sharing it. Don't just garden in your backyard, garden in your front yard too. Let other people see it and share it in your life. Brown talks about this concept that I know we've all experienced, and that's the concept of, hey, it's nice to meet you. What do you do? You know that thing? Those of us who have gone to mixers, when I was the executive director of the Council on Aging in Sonoma County for 20 years, and part of my job was to go to mixers. And I decided that the one treat I would give myself, that no matter what my next endeavor was, that when I closed the door on my office for the last time, I would never go to another mixer in my life. Ever. People here say, oh, you should go to... No, I'm not going. I'm not going. We'll send a board member, but I am not going to the mixer. No. But you don't even have to go to mixers. You go to PTA. Hi, nice to meet you. What do you do? You go to a dating site. Hi, nice to meet you. What do you do? You go to, wherever. You go to the gym. Hi, nice to meet you. What do you do? It's all about that. And so what she says is what we do in the marketplace may not be, and then we're afraid. We don't want to say it because it doesn't sound worthy, And so what she's come up with, or what somebody's come up with, is this idea of slash careers. So you might have a slash career. You might be a real estate agent and a jeweler. Real estate agent slash jeweler. Real estate agent because you have to make a living. You got to pay the kids. You might be a lawyer slash chef. You might be a rabbi slash stand-up comic. You see how that works? So that it's not, you have more than just one job in the world. You have one that puts food on the table, and then you have one that's your talent, that you're cultivating. It's your gift to share in your life. I know musicians know this. Our guest musicians and the musicians that come here, it's so hard to make a full living doing just that they often do things. We don't recognize it enough, but Justin is a phenomenal singer. Phenomenal singer. Slash carpenter and sound man. See? So what we want to do now is begin to think in terms of not only what your gift in the marketplace is, but what's your gift that you want to cultivate to bless the entire planet. But what you have to do is to begin to understand that everything is worthy. Everything is worthy. We don't allow compensation to decide our worthiness. We decide what we're giving out to decide. Let me read to you what she says. I recently met a woman at a social media conference who is an accountant/jeweler. I was excited to meet her because I had bought a beautiful pair of earrings from her online. When I asked her how long she'd been a jeweler, she blushed and said, "I wish. I'm a CPA. I'm not a real jeweler." I thought to myself, I'm wearing your earrings right now, not your abacus. When I pointed to my ears and said, "Of course you're a jewelry maker," she just smiled and replied, "Well, I don't make very much money doing that. I just do it because I love it." As ludicrous as it sounded to me, I get it. I hate calling myself a writer because it doesn't feel legitimate to me. I'm not writer enough. Overcoming self-doubt is all about believing you're enough and letting go of what the world says you're supposed to be and supposed to call yourself. So contemplate this idea of moving into a wholehearted life by cultivating your talent. Because if you leave it at the table, if you leave it on the table and you don't begin to share it, the consequence is you're not living a wholehearted life. The next one I want to work with is cultivating laugh, song, and dance, or letting go of being cool and in control. Now, in truth, cultivating laughter, song, and dance is a powerful thing in itself. But the real power here is it will push you. It's the quickest way to find out how you don't feel cool in the world. The whole idea of me dancing is just paralyzing because it does not feel cool to me. You know, I'm in this little group, Authentic Voices, and we dance around our chairs 4 times in the play. 4 times we dance around the chairs. And just before it's time for me to dance, I think, okay, just loosen up. Because I'm afraid I'm not going to look cool in there. We have to let go of that. We have to let go of it because remember last week we talked about children when we asked them if they sing or dance or play, and they all said, yes, of course we do. It's natural to us. It came to us naturally. And when we were little guys, we did it, and we expected people to appreciate it. We didn't care how we looked. We expected people to appreciate it. And then we unlearned all that. We unlearned how to do that. And as a result of that, we let somebody else take our exuberance away. And you know, we talk about the gifts of imperfection. We talk about the gifts of God. Exuberance, and you all know what that feels like because you felt it at times in your life where you were just exuberant. You can't let God take that away from you. People take that away from you. It's your gift from God. Have you ever gone to a sporting event and you sat next to a real fan? You know, when the Monarchs were here, people would say, "What do you do?" I never told them I was a minister, because I wanted to be as exuberant as I wanted to be in the stadium. I didn't want anybody judging me for, well, whatever I said, or whatever that might have been. I didn't want that. Music is so important to us. It stirs our soul. It stirs our soul. It's much more important to us in getting in deep than any words could ever be. You know, when guest musicians come here and they say, "What are you talking about? I want to match the music to what you're talking about." I never tell them. I never tell them because I don't want them to know. I want them to, and I tell them, pick the most heart-opening music you can find. And didn't they do a fabulous job today? Because they will open our hearts, and then I can get in deeper into the minds. Music is so important. Brown says that she watched two clips of the same drama, little clips of the drama, and you could hear the words, but on one of them you couldn't hear any music. And she said when she heard it, it was good, but when they put the music to it, she could feel what she was thinking. That's what music does to us. We can begin to feel what it is that we're thinking. It's so important. See, some of us are just too shy, but here's the thing. If you want to learn to live a more wholehearted life and you want to embrace music in your life and you just think, oh, if they ever heard me sing, if they ever heard me, oh, no, I couldn't do that, then I want you to sign up for Human Spirit 16 because we have a karaoke night. And I'm telling you, it takes it out of people. We have people who I bet I hadn't heard say more than 3 words in the church. And they got to karaoke night and oh my gosh, they were Tina Turner right there before your very eyes. Music is important to us. The final one is cultivating calm and stillness. Cultivating calm and stillness. You know, being calm requires us to have 2 huge stop signs. Stop talking, stop moving. Those are the 2 things we need in order to have calm. But calm takes practice. See, because the opposite of calm is that reactivity that we have. And we do it so much. You know, somebody says something and it lights up every nerve ending we have. And all of a sudden we're just talking and moving. And we escalate the mess. That's all we do. We escalate the mess. Whereas if we could step back and be calm. You know, recently I was asked to write a proposal for the National Church Program. And 7 people throughout the United States had taken a piece of this. And they were supposed to write their piece and then send it to me. And I was going to take what I liked and what I didn't like out of what they wrote and put the proposal together. Not hard. It wasn't hard. It wasn't hard. And so we had these national phone calls. And they would last an hour. And when I would get these people on the phone, and I could feel the hair on the back of my neck standing up because either they hadn't done their work or whatever else happened. I don't even know what happened. But I was reacting. I could feel myself making it worse. I would say something more ministerial than, not much more ministerial than, what is wrong with you? The deadline's come and gone and you haven't got your stuff ready. And so the first phone call was terrible, and I added to it. I just escalated everything up in the wrong direction. And then I read this chapter. And when I read the chapter, I began to say, okay, my goal on here is not to get the material. My goal on here on this phone call is to stay calm for 60 minutes. That's the goal. Whatever they say, I'm going to stay calm. And do you know what? It worked. Ernest Holmes, our founder, says, you can change conditions through the power of your mind, and this is a perfect example of it. Because when I stopped reacting, when I started being calm, what happened is people had their work done. And it was good. It was good work. And we're almost finished with a proposal. So the next time you go to a meeting, and just set the intention, the power of intention. Set the intention for calm. And watch what happens. Never mind what the agenda is. Just set the intention for calm and see what happens in our life. The other thing about this is stillness. Now, stillness is what we call meditation. But she's smart. She doesn't call it meditation. Because, see, meditation has this whole thing, and I talk about this a lot. Meditation has this whole idea that you have to sit on a little pillow and pretzel up and be quiet and know the chant and om away. That's what we think of meditation, but that's not what it is. Let me tell you what she says it is. Meditation makes me anxious. When I try to meditate, I feel like a total poser. I spend the entire time thinking about how I need to stop thinking. Okay, I'm not thinking about anything. I'm not thinking about anything. I'm not thinking about anything. Milk, diapers, laundry detergent, stop! Okay, not thinking about anything. Oh man, is this over yet? I don't want to admit it, but the truth is, stillness used to be a very anxiety-provoking for me. In my mind, being still was narrowly defined as sitting cross-legged on a floor and focusing on that elusive nothingness. As I collected and analyzed more stories, I realized that my initial thinking was wrong. Here's the definition of stillness that emerged from the data. Stillness is not about focusing on nothingness. It's about creating a clearing. It's opening up emotionally clutter-free space and allowing ourselves to feel and think and dream and question. See, what it used to be called before we got so spiritually cool, it used to be called daydreaming. Daydreaming, where we would sit in the quiet all by ourselves and we'd simply daydream. Now, if you're having trouble with meditation, don't miss the opportunity to take Peggy Tillery's 4-week meditation class. It's starting up on the 20th soon. And it's fabulous. And what it will do is it will take a lot of the mystique out of this notion of what meditation is. The reason to be calm and still is because you create peace in your life. Today we're opening the season for nonviolence. It's such a powerful, powerful season. It's 64 days between the anniversary of the death of Dr. Martin Luther King and the anniversary of the death of Mahatma Gandhi. Why do they do it between the deaths and not the births? Because it's important that we understand at a deep level, violence kills people. Violence kills ideas. Violence kills dreams. And violence kills people. So what we're doing, we're not suggesting that at the end of 64 days, we're going to run out and start throwing rocks at people. What we're saying is that we're going to use this time to practice in a focused way. You know, you may be a runner, but if you're practicing for a marathon, you step your game up a little bit. You focus your training a little differently. And that's what we're doing here. We're saying we want to bring more peace to the planet, and we're stepping up our game for 64 days to really get our muscles going. Now, we're going to do it in a number of different ways at the church. But in your bulletin, you will find an invitation to participate on our Peace Begins With Me website. And every morning at 6 o'clock in the morning, there is a phone call you can listen to that has prayer, that has inspiration. It's being led. This was all, Reverend Brenda has organized all this. She's brought in people from all over the United States to be on the call with us, to give us the inspiration. So we invite you to really focus on this. Now, at 6 o'clock's early. It's early. So there's a way that you can listen to the call when you get up. You can listen to the call. You can do a playback on the call. So if you're not an early riser, do that. We also have a couple of other things. Next week, in your bulletin, you're going to find a country, and we're going to ask you to adopt that country. And we're going to ask you to pray for that country for 64 days. We're also going to ask you to learn something about that country, because our founder, Ernest Holmes, says all human misery is a result of ignorance, and only knowledge can save us from that misery. So we don't know enough about other people's countries. And so some of the kind we're going to ask you for your country to find out, what do they eat? What language do they speak? What do the mom and dads work for, at? What kind of jobs do mom and dads work at that place? How do children play in that area? Let's really learn about those. And speaking of children, we have a program called the 64 Days written for children. And it has a little activity, simple, quick. I'm not into putting more pressure on parents. So this is a 5-minute activity you can do with your children every day for the 64 days to enhance their understanding. So we have those in the lobby if you're a mom or the children's, yeah, okay. And it's also on the website that you can share it there. The practitioner core of this church has put together a beautiful sacred readings for all of the Sundays in the 64 days. So they're heavily involved in it. So we invite you to embrace this season. Let's take this into prayer, knowing that there is, pardon me? Oh, and the family pledge. Thank you. Out in the lobby, we've put some family pledges, and it's also on the website as well. We put some family pledges there, and what we ask you to do is to take it, sit down with your family. It's one page. It's very simple. You simply pledge an agreement to forgiveness. You pledge an agreement to understanding. I don't remember what some of the others are, but it's very beautiful. So those resources are out there for you, and you can make the most of this season. So let's take this message into prayer, knowing that there's only one life. That life is God's life, and that life is my life now. There is only one life. That life is God's life, and that life is my life now. Knowing that the presence of God is in and around and through me and every person on the planet, I simply give blessing to this church. I give blessing to every worship center on the planet, whether it's a fishing stream or a mosque or a cathedral or a beautiful church like this one. Whatever it is, I give thanks and blessing. I release this word into the law, and together we say, and so it is.